Hi, I'm Kelly Brethauer with a very special edition of In Your Neighborhood. Today we're doing a community spotlight of artist, doctor, writer, and educator Hani Elkadi. Dr. Elkadi has a unique history, and Iowa City has been lucky to call this place home for the last 35 years. We had the opportunity to sit down with him and talk about his new art exhibit here at Her Soup Kitchen and what influenced him to make these beautiful, poignant paintings. Welcome, Hani, and thank you for chatting with me today. I can see that we are surrounded by a variety of your pieces of work, but first off, I want to ask you how you knew you wanted to be an artist. Did you always know, and how did that take off?
Well, let me first express my gratitude for you all, the family of Public Access TV, for hosting me today. I do some work with you frequently, but this is a different situation where I am your guest, and thank you for your generosity and gracious introduction. That's wonderful. If I have to go back years ago in order to tell you how I felt about my life, I really wanted to be an artist, and I felt that I loved that so much as a little kid. And I had a childhood that was not the happiest childhood in the world. It was suffering, it was wars, it was loss, family dying under bombs and shelling from airplanes and parachutes and all that. So I mean, it was a different childhood, but the pains added a lot to my kind of level of maturity. So I was not the child that was really living his age. I was a child who was living a lot beyond that. I mean, at age 7, I felt I'm 70. I saw a lot, you know, they're collecting some family members' ashes from the rubbles when you are 4 years old. It has a different meaning, different effect and impact on you. And this impact lived with me, and the only outlet for this was art. Is to try to maybe to escape from reality, maybe to beautify the ugliness of what I've seen, the cruelty of life, and try to add a touch of sensibility and sensitivity to it. And that's when I discussed my dad, I said, I want to be an artist, and he looked at me like I'm a very weird person, and he said, well, we live in the Middle East here, and look around you, masses are hungry, are ignorant, are sick, and you are thinking of making paintings for them. And he started to look at me like I'm totally out of it. And he said, no, I want you to think about something you can do with your life that's more, that can help people more. You go and donate your time and put yourself at the service of these masses that are hungry and sick. And do you think that a home that doesn't have a piece of bread and butter would buy from you a beautiful painting of apples and peaches and put it in the dining room, in which there is no dining room to begin with? Is that what you want to do? Or you think of making a little nude painting that people can put it to fit their nice bed in the bedroom, where there is no bedroom, where there are 12 kids living on the floor? So that's crazy. So he was against that. And that's probably how childhood started, between the what I wanted to do and what my father thought is crazy. Mm-hmm. But eventually I yielded. My father was a huge impact in my life. And when he got sick and I saw him about to die, and I said, maybe if I had been a physician, I could have saved his life. But eventually, I tell you, my passion won the battle. I had to leave a very glamorous, very profitable career in order to be sometimes a starving artist. But if you ask me, am I happy? I certainly, if I go back, I will just repeat what I have done before.
Well, you can definitely tell in your work that these different life experiences were a big influence in them. Tell us more about the process behind them and what your thinking is before you begin to sketch or paint.
Well, I like your question because it kind of intrigues a lot of things that I probably wasn't able to talk about in other situations, such as how the artists come up with the idea, and what are the confinements that artists face, and do you really want to just fit in the art community and become one to be accepted? Everybody is doing abstract or surrealism or meaningless kind of painting, and you want to do that because you want to be accepted. Or you do your own style, accepting the sacrifice that may come about after that. Mm-hmm. And by this I mean you may not be able to sell. You may not be able to join a clique or a group. And you're going to be an outcast. This is a person that doesn't do as we do. So this question that you just asked, actually you have pinpointed a very important part, which is the artist a politician, or the artist is doing art to express really his or her emotions and feelings, anger, anguish, love, hate, whatever. So I myself try to be as honest as I can be. And this eventually ends up with various styles. I mean, if you look at this series that you have selected to be in the background of our setting today, this is called Genesis. And I looked at the Bible, and I read the Genesis, the book of Genesis, and translated it into about 27 prints. And those are all engravings, by the way. You know, you work with plate and you dig through the copper, and it is not that you put in an acid. There are some etching, but the main thing is engraving, and it takes a lot of work. And I was lucky, really, I didn't have too much experience in engraving before I came to Iowa, until I met Professor Virginia Myers of the University of Iowa. And this lady, till this moment, I consider her maybe the best. I hate this kind of description, the best, the number one, but I have never seen in my life, and I've seen a lot. I lived enough. I've seen a lot in many, many countries, whether it's France, Holland, Italy, where I got my education in art. I have never seen anyone like Virginia Myers of Iowa. The power of the lion and the master craft, as well as genius way of creativity. This lady didn't have the chance to be known in the world as Picasso or even, you know, as Georgia O'Keeffe. But one day, the whole world will go back and look at the work that Virginia Myers. Virginia Myers is living healthy and is doing work here, very close to us here, a couple of miles out of Iowa City, in our 10 acres studio there. And so I learned from her how to do the line and how to make those lines stable. This needs a lot of control and mind, kinesthetic. I don't want to use a lot of jargon, by the way, because the artists love to use a lot of jargons, okay? I'll try to avoid as much as I can. I mean movement, between the mind and the hand, movement. And she was able to do that. And I could watch her doing this with fascination. So that this particular part had a stage in my life. Can I do this now? I doubt it. But this was a stage. Some people like to say, well, but he doesn't have a style really. You know, what is his style? You go to his exhibition, it looks like there are 20 different artists. It's true, because this moment that I'm sitting with you, Kari, now, is different from the moment that preceded that. I would be different from the moment that will follow that, succeed that. I'm not the same person. I don't have the same feelings. And I am honest. I fit my art to express the moment that I live in. And that's why you see varieties. That's why you don't see this fits with this. But this is a very quick touch with a brush, and the brush is going like a sketch. In order to make this model was sitting there for about 2 minutes, and I did this in 2 minutes. I didn't touch it before, after that, because it's a spontaneous reaction to what I have seen, the lines and the proportions and the relation, and maybe the expression on her face. And her relationship with the background as a foreground, as front, to the back. That is important. And what kind of colors I use. Here I used black and white, here I used various colors. There should be a reason for that, right? Because, you know, colors express your feeling too. It's totally different from this when the art becomes a narrative, a story. And this is a story. Now you tell me, what's the story? Well, I have my story, but you have your own story too. Because what happened when you look at any piece of art is you, what we call, and I'm going to excuse myself by saying that I have to use this word, fusion. You fuse your feeling with what the artist is offering. And eventually the sum of this, the conclusion will be a combined collective effect. So here, for instance, what is the story? Beautiful lady, but good part of it is bones. Well, there's definitely life and death here. And you know, when you have a dancer and you have a pole, this is the maximum energy and feeling of lifehood. But the one that's on the pole or holding this bar or whatever it is are bones. There is a moon, but then there is a lot of confusion here. There is an order here. Good perspective, right? Vanishing point and all that. And suddenly there is total disorder. So the whole thing is trying to get into dissecting your feeling and try to put the order and disorder together, the life and death, the beginning and the end. So this is different from this, where here I have tried to look at the baby, a human baby, as the flower, the bud, and it's open as a flower here. And then, so I call it the unity. This one in particular, I don't remember the number, but it's not the first, but it is one of them where where the human being is in unity with the universe, with the environment, with the plant life. And in this one, this is it's a funny story, because this is the uterus. This is part of the uterus, the wall of the uterus, and the circle that has these little balls there is what we call the morula. It is the baby at the stage of multiple cells. They are still stem cells, all of them, just beginning. The baby is like a cluster of grapes here, before any differentiation, before any characterization, before any specialization of those cells. Those would make the eye, those would make the heart, those would make the liver. Those are just a combined part. So this is more of a biological thing. Again here, between the plant and the human cells, and between the life and the decay. The light ones are living cells, and the dark ones are dying cells. And if you look at those cells as a biologist, you will find them very accurate. The cell that has a nucleus, mitochondria, ribosomes, centrosomes, whatever it is, you know, it has a cell wall, it has plasma lemma. It's biologically sound, correct. But as an artist, you look at it as a composition. You don't care if this is really true mitochondria, if it's really biologically correct, 100%. It's the whole thing is, as you see, the leaf here, is a very living one, but surrounded by all these cells that are dying. Again, this is a stage of my life when I was thinking about life and death, disorder and order. Did I address your point, or
very
drifted
well.
you away?
No, you addressed it
Honestly.
very well,
Okay.
honestly. But as you've just explained, you do have this style that's unique in every one of your pieces of work. And even at the Her Soup Kitchen exhibit featuring your work, there's different styles. There's landscapes and portraits. So could you tell us what the thought process was in selecting those pieces of work for there?
I walk in the street, I meet some people, and it's something stimulates me, something motivates me. It can be a look in the eye, it can be a composition, it can be a twig, it can be a little wind pushing a leaf away. You never know exactly what would intrigue you. And sometimes when a person comes and say, "Oh, do my portrait," and I started, it's like impossible. It can't come like this. But and this sometimes causes troubles, because sometimes I'm in need to do the portrait. I said, "Kelly, please, can I do your portrait?" And Kelly would say, "Why me? Oh, this is weird. This is a dirty old man coming to me saying, well, I want to do your portrait." But you know what, I tell you, I did that. It caused me trouble many times. I was on the train in Europe, and this woman was sitting in the, she had a little tear in her eye, and she was looking at the window for about 2 hours. And I started sketching her. I couldn't prevent myself. I was sitting before her, so I can see her. And I started sketching her, and suddenly this guy behind me, a hand like a dinosaur's hand, on my shoulder. "What are you doing?" And he carried me like a piece of, I tell you what, trash. And he took the sketchbook and tore it. That was her husband, right? And I was drawing his wife. And I said, "I am an artist. I have no intention of doing anything." And he said, "Get out of here, get out." And I was about to be killed because something in her eyes was like calling me to do this. And she tried to save me. Actually, she did. but it was too late. So I'm telling you, what intrigues the artist, you never know. You never know why Monet, for instance, made all these water lilies and kept doing water lilies. Yeah, the first one sold, the second one sold. But he kept doing it, and they started not to sell because that was just a repeated theme. But yes, we do. I do models, and for me, drawing a model has nothing to do with any sexual connotation to it. I look at the body as a genius composition. And whatever this person is doing, and she's playing with her toes, right? Or whatever it is. I mean, she's relaxing, sitting in the sun with the reflection of the sunlight on her. And I look at the relationship between the lines here, how the lines create this kind of rhythm and motion while she's sitting, but everything there is moving. So I try to capture this. Or even if it is not a model, it's a piece of clothes, folds like this, whatever it is, sheet, anything. But these folds create this kind of motion. So sometimes the motion or the rhythm of the lines intrigues you, so you want to capture it. This, of course, cannot be treated except like a study. And we, as artists, we do a lot of this. You can see the rhythm here in this print, and this print is done by what we call foil stamping. And this was another technique that was developed by the genius Virginia Meyer. Again, she developed this. There was no, before her, in the history of art, there was no foil stamp. That she invented the machine, and she invented the technique, and all the people who were around her captured that. And some of them are very, very famous now, and they do this, and it's a very successful technique. You see how it works. A very special technique. But again, the rhythm of these leaves. It can take this rhythm can take a very abstract, let us say, a composition here. This I call it Highway to Heaven. It's part of of a series that I did that has to do with combining printmaking with painting. After I print, I start to use the oil painting to add some action to it. You see there is a little ladder here that's going up, but there's a fire. Whatever you want to see in it, smoke maybe, but it's a story again. Yeah, I can share with you a lot of things. Sometimes because I like country music. I know a lot of people will be angry with me, but I love country music.
I love country music too.
And you do?
Yes.
Okay. And Willie Nelson is one of the, as a poet maybe, is just intriguing. And the first time I see him in a concert, I went there to sketch him. You know, I did this with a couple of. As a fan, you know, but a sketch, quick sketch, and that's what comes up, you know. Did I work on it later? No, I just left it as it was. I didn't add to it. I could have gone and add colors to it, but I want the spontaneity of the moment there. This is all things that can intrigue or stimulate or, as you see, open up ideas in the mind of an artist, let alone the memories. Because sometimes when you start working on something, in the background there is association. There is something going on between your memories and what's happening in front of you. And the scene doesn't become a camera scene because you put yourself in it. There's somebody who said, well, I see in every portrait you do, there is something about you there. Which is not a very, it's not exaggeration. Yeah, when you do a portrait, as a matter of fact, you put part of you there. And probably I do a lot of those, you know, and I brought you with me a lot, but I don't think we have enough time to show those. Yeah.
Tell us what your greatest achievement then is of all your pieces of work.
My greatest achievement is different from my greatest pride. My greatest achievement is in the area of medical illustration, where although I published a lot of medical books, as a scientist, I wrote. I was an early transplant guy, and transplantation was just incipient at the beginning, and tissue rejection and all that. I did a lot of research in these areas, and I did a lot of illustrations, and I wrote a lot of chapters or articles in the medical field. That's not our topic today. And but I did a lot of medical illustrations for many books, whether in Europe, especially in England, or in the United States here. And I worked a lot with plastic surgeons. One of them, as a matter of fact, is my father-in-law, was Dr. Janusz Bardak. I'm married to his daughter, who is the woman that stood by my side when I decided not to do medical work anymore, which is a little difficult, right, as you know. But this is another topic. So he was one of the pioneers of plastic surgery, especially the deformity of the face. Kids who are born with cleft lip, cleft palate, severe burns, and distortions that happened in the face. He was a master of this. And we together, he wrote the text and I illustrated the atlas. It's called Atlas of Reconstructive Surgery. It has been translated to 17 languages everywhere. The last one was the year before last year, Chinese. It has been translated Japanese, Russian, Polish, Arabic, Hebrew. It has been all over the world, and this is, of course, my #1 achievement, because I was able to do 3,632 illustrations with my hand. It took me 5.5 years, working every single night. And working with Janusz was not the easiest thing. A plastic surgeon who, the millimeter has a meaning to him. If I do in the illustration something that is out of this 1 millimeter, I have to repeat it again. And we're not talking here about Photoshop or Mac Paint or Mac Draw or whatever it is. This is all hand-made plates. So I got you some of them. Just, would you like to see some of them?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Well, here's a series about cleft palate. This is the palate and the steps that the surgeon would take in order to treat this, but to treat this congenital anomaly, for instance. And you can look at it, and by looking at it, you would see that it's not only that you have to be precise in the anatomy, but how long your incision should be, and what is under the skin or under the mucosa there, what kind of muscle, how thick the muscle is, how many stitches do you have to put there, and what kind of tool you have to use there. This is the most difficult part of the whole process is the, and I think in order to show you, the music added some drama to the situation that we, right? And as usual, I forgot to do that, but, so I apologize. But you see here in front of you, if you can show Miss Sarah Tate, some of those, this is the chapter itself, after you print it. And you can see the drawing here, how it is after it is printed in the book, yeah. Again, sometimes, unless you have really good printer, sometimes the original one, but here the copy is better than the original. So we combine the photographs with the illustration that shows the surgeon step by step what to do. And this is actually, this is the only, I hope somebody would be turning the TV on and opening this and say, oh, that's what I do for a living. So maybe I should go and get this book, you know. Because here you have the anomaly. You see the lines, it tells you exactly where you are going to cut. And after you cut, how you are going to repair that, step by step. And this entails that the poor me would be sitting by the shoulder of the surgeon, and I'm a surgeon myself, but this is not my area. And I look and I sketch. And after I do the sketch, I have to go back and put them together. And then go have a meeting. Oh, no, you got this a little out. So I wait for the next week when another patient comes to pick up what I missed or what I have left away. So what I'm trying to tell you that this is the most achievement. The most pride is working with my students. That is the thing that nothing in my life equals it. Where after I left medicine, I worked with kids who are genius kids, but they are special kids. In other words, they are people who are struggling against all odds in order to make it through life. Sometimes it is poverty, sometimes it is family situation, sometimes it's simple misfortune, unlucky kids. And they are struggling, and I'm working with them, teaching them art. And I'm so proud that in the exhibition that you are visiting with me today at her soup kitchen, you will see some of my kids' work. There is a piece that I have done with Sarah Kuhn, one of my kids. So I'm proud of these moments, you know, when art becomes part of the healing process and motivation for kids to complete school and feel good about their achievement in themselves.
So how do you motivate your kids to make art?
Well, number one, you have to convince anyone, including the people who even are not thinking they can do art, that anyone can do art. I don't really believe in talent. And a lot of people say, oh, you are a talented man. I'm not a talented guy, absolutely. I just had the right key to put in the right place and turn it on, and it worked. Because what the human brain is able to achieve is unlimited. You can be better than Da Vinci if you have the will to be better than Da Vinci. Okay? It is very important that you practice and keep doing. I do this every single day. Every single day. In preparation, when you invited me for this interview, I didn't know what to get you, and I just went to my studio And I kept digging, you know, things. And that's why you see I made a mess here on the nice table that Sarah Tate had and Brian had made for us here. But this is the moment. This is the moment that I am so proud of, where I sit with my kids and do a mural. This mural we did among other murals in Iowa City here. This one we did in Children's Hospital, on a huge wall. And this was about maybe, let us say, 12 years ago. And you see here, everybody is doing something, you know. Everybody, and we feel that I say, listen, just express yourself. All what I can do is just a little technical advices here and there. But the main thing is their creativity, their ideas. You see, they are not looking at any sketch. It's a very spontaneous thing. And I'm just watching here, making sure that the mixing is okay, that the wall is not going to crack after that, and this painting is going to fall down. So just technical advices, but this is the most, that's what I'm proud the most of.
So do you dedicate most of your time these days to making art, and do you still teach art?
Kelly, I tell you what, art is a good part of my life, and teaching is as equally important to me. And now I'm teaching at Kirkwood at what we call continuing education. And I'm not teaching for credit and grades. This is, I don't even think that we can grade art, all right? If we grade art, Picasso will have 0, big 0, because he didn't do proportions, he didn't do shades in the right way. Come on, I mean, it's a fact of life. How about Kandinsky? How about Jackson Pollock, who was carrying his bucket and asking his girlfriend to step on it and make certain impressions, and then it's sold for $12 million. These people can get 0, right? If we look at it, oh yeah, the proportion, oh, this hand is bigger than the head. No, 0. No, that's not true. So art is freedom, right? So we cannot grade it. So I'm happy that I'm teaching classes now at Kirkwood, where my clients are retired professors in the university. Some of them are plastic surgeons, and some of them are ENT doctors, and some are lawyers, and some are artists. I'm proud that I had, for instance, Steve Atkins, the manager of Iowa City for many, many, many decades, not years. He was one of my students at Kirkwood. And he is already an established artist. And I teach watercolor, and I teach drawing. So, yeah, I teach, I paint every single day, I draw every day. I do drawings for the press citizen, and I do this as part of the, those are some of my drawings for the press citizen. I don't know if the reflection, I don't want Sarah to be very angry with me, because, yeah. Mr. Satiro is the one who did the mural in front of the bread garden. If you stand by the entrance of the bread garden, you see the parking ramp there. There are hands, and they are united together. That's Mr. Satiro, the artist, you know. And he spent some time with me in my studio. Those are all published. That's Mr. Pagliai, the father of pizza in Iowa City. If you don't sign up at Pagliai, you are not an Iowa Cityan, by the way. Like he and Hamburger Inn and all those like iconic things. You have to pilgrimage to them, you know. And the late Professor John McClure of the Education Department, and I write about their stories. I write about their success. This Alan Weinstein and his wife Nina Weinstein. He is probably the greatest Canadian-American artist of the century. Very famous, very successful, and he accepted my sketch. So I do all this for the newspaper, and I was lucky that the press is welcoming me to do that, you know. And this is one of my students, Dr. John Kennedy, the plastic surgeon, the head of plastic surgery. And I actually made his portrait and wrote about him too. And this is the famous Iowa City icon, Tom Nutnagel, in a sketch that I did for him. Another very important artist, Rick Herm Weber, and his daughter, who was my student, by the way. And I wrote about him and about his. He was one of the people that I saw him playing with his. You see the difference between the published one and the original, huh? Mm-hmm. This is just a copy of the published one. So I do this. I have been doing this for about. This is somebody did this for me. Actually, Rachel Williams is professor of art and art education here, and she did this for me. So this is again another thing, but do it every day. It's like driving. It's like wrestling. It's like practice makes perfect. Period. Are we born with certain genes that makes Hani Elkadi genius or good artist? Absolutely not. I'm just having the perseverance, stamina to sit down and instead of watching TV 24 hours or playing with the Facebook, although I do actually sit on the Facebook a lot, but you know, you have to do it every day.
Well, these are all beautiful pieces of art, and it is clear in every single one of them that there are a lot of different aspects of life that inspire you. And I just want to thank you again for sharing with me all these and sharing your life and sharing all your thoughts about art. And it's truly been an honor to ask you these questions.
As a matter of fact, I have to thank Public Access TV. You are doing a major service to this community. And I have been here for 35 years. I've never seen a team of people who are working relentlessly in order to make things better for our community more than you do. And I have been impressed by the work you personally do, meeting with people, talking to the people in the street, and during the art fest and music occasions and all that. I've been impressed with Sarah Tate and her work, all the new Brian, and of course with Mr. James Mims and all the new team that joined Josh Gooding here in his effort to make this a very important, pulsating center of culture and acceptance and tolerance in our community.
Well,
so thank you very much. I'm honored to be here, and I consider it a privilege to be able to talk about things with you today.
Yeah, that truly means a lot to us all, and we enjoy working with you too, and we definitely look forward to seeing more of your art in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.